Now, welcome back. This is episode 2. Today, we are going to be focusing on your shading and your colors. Now, this is going to be the thing that's going to really bring your drawing to life. This is going to be the thing that's going to make it pop out of the screen when you show your friends and you show your clients, hopefully. Today, we are going to be focusing on pretty much how to shade, how to color, and what materials that you can mix together to get a really strong, vibrant color. Now, these are the things that you're going to need today for your drawing. So today you're going to need your outline and of course your reference photo and a bunch of other materials that are really going to help you get this drawing really pop, and of course they're actually going to help you a lot with your next batch of drawings coming up in the future. So here's a short list that you can screenshot to get yourself organized. These extensions are great. You can get them straight from eBay. They're really good when your pencils start to run out. Now those pencils that I just put up, they are called Prismacolour. Now these ones here, you can get either from eBay or you can get directly from your local art supplier. Now the reason I use them is because they're very good for blending. Colors are very vibrant. So I suggest you do try and get yourself some of these. And on eBay, you can order them separately by their numbers, as I just explained before. So you can get all the numbers that I just picked here on the video. Now, what you're gonna need to do next is grab yourself your reference photo, still with your grid, and your drawing. Now, what we're gonna start doing is outlining where these shadows actually start and finish, and then we're gonna start putting some color down. Let's go. Now that you've got your drawing beside your reference photo, what I want you to do is just to outline where these shadows actually start and finish. So you notice how the body actually goes from light to dark. What we want to do is get those lines just here so we can start guiding ourselves where we're going to draw. So we're going to start off here with the headlight. We've got this bit down here. It just droops down, comes out, and then meets at the end of that bumper line. So we're just going to draw that there like that. And then we can see that all these dark areas here are all the way down and follow all the way to the back. So we're going to start here. We're going to work our way to the edge of that number plate, just underneath that line you just did there, into the indicator, and then you're going to work your way around. Now we're going to work on our base layer. We're going to just grab your number 7. So we're going to color in these little areas that we just selected before. Now your marker should have a nice thin and a thick side on either end of the marker, which will help you with the little details and the larger areas of shading. So what we're going to do first is actually we're going to start off with the top colors first and work our way down. The reason for that is because if you start from the colors at the top down, you will reduce the amount of smudging that you're going to apply to this drawing. If you start from the bottom up, you will work your way up and you'll smudge all that work that you've done. So let's start from the top, work our way down. We're going to focus on these dark colors here first and that gradient to light, dark colors into light. So we're going to do these areas first, and then we're going to work on these nice tricky darker areas here. So what we're going to need first is you're going to need your 90% gray, your 70% gray, your 50, your 10% gray, your light blue, and your white. And of course, don't forget, you're also going to need your blender. Very important. Let's get into it, guys. Here, you're going to start off with your 90% gray and hit some of those darker areas first. So now that we've done these main dark areas here, so notice how it's really dark there, and these areas here, we've replicated that on the drawing. So now we're going to go with your 70% gray and just work on that gradient, which is pretty much the whole section here. A good tip is that you don't have to press too hard with these pencils to begin with, because your blender will be the one that really brings out these colors at the end. Now that we've done those shades, I want you to grab your 50% gray and finish off all those gradients all around through here. And with this, we're going to start darkening this whole area. Now that you're coming up to the end of those darker areas, you can start grabbing your light blue and adding a little bit of blue to those sections where you can see those lighter colors. So now that we have finished putting all our base layers on this top where our major gradients are going to be, we can use our blender. Now this is going to really bring these colors to life. So now that you've used your blender to blend all those dark tones in, we're now going to bring out your light blue, your 10% gray, and your white. And you're also going to keep your blender around because you're probably going to need that. So by using your 10%, your light blue, and your white, you can actually start to blend the remaining areas of your shading. And then once you've done all that, use your blender to bring some of those darker areas into those highlights just a little bit to smooth it all out. So now we can really see these tones have starting to match what we've got on our reference here. You're going to grab your 90% cool gray, and we're just going to do these really dark shadows that are coming through here. Now that we've finished with the main darker areas, we're going to finish off the rest of these highlights. So you're going to use some of your lighter colors, a little bit of your 50 and your 70% gray just to do that top part of the fender, and you're going to finish everything off with your light blue, your 10, and your white. Now that's great. So now that we've finished this whole top lighter area of the drawing, we can start working into some of the dark areas. Now if your lines are still not as smooth, you can just grab your finger and just smooth it out like this. Now don't press too hard, otherwise you can actually damage the paper. Just be a little bit gentle with it. We can start moving into some of these darker areas. So what we're going to focus on is the spoiler first, because we got a lot of dark areas here. Move into this mirror from the front end down to the back, and that's going to be our shading for today. Now the key to these reflections is using your reference photo as the perfect guide on where you're going to put each darker tone on this drawing. Lighter colors done, we're going to work into the darker areas. Now this is really tricky. We're going to need every single pencil that we needed at the start. All your grays, your French grays, your blenders, we're all going to be used for these areas. We're going to start off with the front end. We're going to work our way all the way through here like this. We can still see the outlines of where these body panels meet, join, and open. So we're going to use them as our guidelines on where to do these highlights, shadows, and everything to match this photo on this drawing. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to find these guidelines, which is essentially going to be these highlights. You can see it coming here. We're just going to draw them in just lightly. So we're just going to lighten them up first so we know where they are and where we want these highlights to be a little bit later on when we finish the drawing. So what we're going to do is the exact same process as what we did on the bonnet. Darker colors first and then building up from there. So we've got a lot of darkness all through here, in there, and obviously throughout this whole area here, even up here as well, very dark. So we're going to start off with your darkest colors. By using the darkest pencil to begin with, you can use some of your lighter tones to bring out some of the highlights. And then when you're all finished, remember to use your blender to smooth it all out, that way it all blends together. Now we get to go to the fun stuff, which is going to be the highlights. So all these little areas here, we're going to bring them out with your 10% and your white pencils, And these are the ones that are going to bring out those little areas here, here, and some of these down here. Firstly, I want you to use your Sharpie just to black out the darkest area. Now, you're going to grab your lightest colors and start using them to bring out those highlights just as you see them on your reference photo. There's going to be a lot of grime left from these pencils. Just grab a little piece of paper, give it a small wipe down, and you'll find that that'll take away all that stuff. Get rid of it all because it can smudge the rest of the paper, so be very careful with that residue that the pencils will leave. Now that we've finished this section, let's finish off the rest of the car. So same process that you used for the front bumper. You're going to use all your darker tones first and then work into your highlights. Remember, right at the end, once you've finished with all your colors, use your blender to smooth it all out. So now that we've finished all of our main tones, we can now work on these little highlights and these darker areas of these reflections that are coming off the car on this image. We've got all of our base layers already done. As you can see, that contrasting color is already looking great. So let's finish off with these little bits through here. We're going to do that mirror, and then this color is going to be finished. So now we're going to practice a little bit more layering. On top of all the shades that you've already done, you can draw directly on top of that with your lighter colors and directly on top with your darker ones, just like you're seeing in that reference photo. And that's it for today. We have finished our full shading. So now all the colors and the shadings from your reference photo have now been converted to your drawing. Hopefully you can follow each step by step. The next phase is going to be, we're going to work on chrome, headlights, and the glass. That's going to be a fun one. See you next week.